Every fortnight this year, money came out of your pay for your student debt. You did not choose it, and you could not stop it. It is withheld before you are paid, the same way tax is. On the 1st of June, your HECS debt was indexed anyway, as though you had paid none of it. That is not a glitch, and it is not the ATO making a mistake, it is how the system is built. The money your employer takes out is extra tax, withheld to cover a repayment that does not even get calculated until you lodge your return, and you lodge your return after the date your debt gets indexed. So you are charged indexation on money you have already handed over. Today on Behind the Money, what indexation has actually cost the average graduate? Why I am going to spend a whole chapter telling you the government fixed more of this than you think, and the one flaw that every single reform of the last 2 years left, completely untouched. Let me show you the two dates, because the entire problem is that they are in the wrong order. Date 1, the 1st of June, indexation is applied to your loan. It hits the part of your debt that is more than 11 months old, and it hits the whole balance. Every dollar still showing on the account that morning. Date 2. Somewhere between July and October, that is when you lodge your tax return, and, in the tax office's own words, when they work out your compulsory repayment and include it on your notice of assessment. Read that again because it is the whole video. Your repayment is not worked out during the year, it is worked out at the end, on the return. Everything your employer took out along the way was extra tax, withheld to cover a bill that had not been calculated yet. So put the two dates in order. Money leaves your pay from July. The repayment is raised on your assessment the following spring. And in the middle, on the 1st of June, your balance is indexed, with all of that money still sitting in it. Here is what that costs, with real numbers. Take the year that indexation has just been applied to, 2025-26. Say you earned $90,000. You repay 15% of everything above that year's threshold of $67,000. That is $3,450 taken out of your pay across the year. On the 1st of June, that $3,450 is still sitting on your loan balance as far as indexation is concerned. At 2.8%, you are charged $96.60 in indexation on money you have already paid. On a $125,000 salary, the compulsory repayment is $8,700, and the indexation charged on money you have already handed over is $243. Not enormous, but you are being charged for a delay that exists purely because of how the paperwork is sequenced. So what has indexation actually taken? The government's own figure for the average student debt is $27,600. Let us run 5 years of indexation across it. 1st of June, 2022, 3.9%, $1,076. Balance, $28,676. 2023, this is the famous one. The rate announced was 7.1%. The highest in about 30 years, and it is the number that put HECS on the evening news. Hold that thought, because it did not survive. The rate that stands today for that year is 3.2%, $918. 2024, 4%, $1,184. 2025, 3.2%, $985. And 2026, 2.8%, the lowest since 2021, $889. 5 indexations, 18.3% compounded. On the average debt, that is $5,052 added. And if you made no repayments at all across those 5 years, a $27,600 debt is now $32,652. That is the cost. Now, and I want to be straight with you about this, because most videos on this subject will not be. That is not the whole story, and the rest of it runs the other way. If you came here to watch me tell you HECS is a scam, this is the chapter where I disappoint you. Because in the last 2 years 4 things changed, and all 4 went in the graduate's favor. 1. The 7.1% was undone. Indexation is now capped at the lower of the Consumer Price Index, or the Wage Price Index. and that change was backdated. 2023 was recalculated from 7.1 down to 3.2. 2024, from 4.7 to 4. $3 billion was credited back across 3 million Australians. On an average debt, about $1,200, returned automatically. 2. That cap is structural. Indexation now cannot outrun wage growth. The scenario everybody feared in 2023, a debt growing faster than the income meant to repay it, is legislated out. 3. 20% was wiped off every student debt in the country, applied to balances as at the 1st of June, 2025, before that year's indexation. Roughly $16 billion, across more than 3 million people, on the average debt $5,520, gone. 4. The repayment system was rebuilt. The threshold went from $54,435 up to $67,000, and repayments became marginal. You now pay on the income above the line, not on your entire income the moment you cross it. That cliff used to mean a small pay rise could cost you hundreds. It is gone. Now put two numbers side by side. 5 years of indexation on the average debt, $5,052. The one-off 20% cut, $5,520. The relief handed back more than half a decade of indexation took. So why are we still here? Because of a word in that last sentence, one-off. The 20% cut happened once. It is not coming back. Indexation happens every year, forever, until the balance is zero. Your average debt, after the cut, sits at $22,080. At this year's 2.8%, indexation takes $618 off you. Next year it takes a slightly larger number, because it compounds on the balance, including this year's indexation, and the year after that. A one-time payment against a permanent charge is not a fix. It is a very large, very welcome delay. And the second thing they did not touch is the one we opened with. Every reform of the last 2 years changed the rate, not one of them changed the dates. Indexation still lands on the 1st of June. Your compulsory repayment still is not worked out until you lodge, months later. The cap, the credit, the 20%, the new threshold, the marginal system, every one of those changed a rate or a threshold. Not one of them moved a date. Which means the fairest description of the current system is this: indexation is now reasonable, the threshold is now reasonable, the repayment curve is now reasonable. And the sequencing is still wrong, in the same direction it has always been wrong, and it is the one part of this you can actually do something about. 3 things. Call it the 1st of June. Step 1. Know which payments count, and when. Only a voluntary repayment reduces the balance before it is indexed, and only if the ATO has processed it before the 1st of June. Processing takes about 3 to 5 business days, so the deadline is not the 31st of May. It is the week before. Your compulsory repayment, the one withheld from your pay, cannot help you here no matter how much of it there is. That is the whole trap in one sentence, and almost nobody knows it until they have already lost a year to it. Step 2, and this is the one people get backwards. Do not rush to pay it off. Indexation is 2.8%, and it is now capped at the lower of prices or wages. That makes HECS the cheapest debt you will ever hold. Cheaper than any mortgage, and not in the same universe as a credit card. There is no interest, there is no default, it never touches your credit file, and if your income falls below the threshold, you pay nothing. So a voluntary repayment is not free money. It is a decision to put your cash into your cheapest debt instead of your most expensive one, or instead of an asset, or instead of a buffer. For most people, most years, that is the wrong end of the queue. The one place the maths genuinely turns is if you are close to clearing the debt entirely. Then killing it before the 1st of June saves you a full year of indexation on whatever is left. Step 3. Check your withholding against the right year's threshold. The threshold moved a long way, from $54,435 up to $67,000, and it keeps moving. It is indexed to average weekly earnings every year. So this financial year, it has risen again to $69,528. So the number you looked up last year is not the number applying now. If your employer is withholding against the old rules, you are handing the tax office money it was never going to keep early, which is exactly the thing that does not help you. So what has indexation cost the average graduate? About $5,000 over 5 years. Then the government gave back rather more than that. In a one-off cut it will not repeat, while leaving the annual charge running and the calendar exactly as it was. You are being indexed on the 1st of June, on a balance that still holds every dollar withheld from your pay since July, because the repayment those dollars were covering does not get worked out until you lodge. That is not a conspiracy, it is a sequencing decision that nobody has bothered to reverse, and until somebody does, the only move available to you is knowing the date. If this was useful, hit like and subscribe to Behind the Money. Every week we take one number the whole country repeats and show you what is underneath it. I'll see you in the next one.